Hi guys, I know it's been a while since I've done a review since Heck Where the Bad Kids Go, and that book was pretty good. It's a middle grade book and it's a series, and I'm going to be doing a review of the other books in that series but at a later date. Today it's all about dystopian and magic. And the first book is Bones of Faerie. That's what it looks like. Cover is pretty simple, just a leaf, and it's all black. But, yeah, I didn't like the cover too much, but the story is what got my attention. When I picked up the book, when I saw the title, it perked my interest. So I picked it up and I read inside and found out that it was a dystopian with elements of magic in it. And basically, the plot of this book was imagine humans and Faes have a war, and what happens to our world after the war is over. Trees are carnivorous. Um, insects light can insects can light a fire, and um, the world is just not a safe place. Kids are developing magical powers and things like that. And in her town, magic is taboo. And she discovers that she has magic. And she knows that if she stays, she'll die because it's a punishable offense. And the punishment is death. So she flees into the woods because she's afraid that she is going to harm someone with her magic. And she gets into trouble. She almost drowns, and she's saved by a boy in her town. And it turns out that the boy also has magic, and they flee into the woods to find a safe place, and they're attacked by trees. The trees basically try to kill them, and they're saved by Karen. And it turns out that she is a fae, and she's a plant talker. She saves them basically by commanding the plant to let them go. But they're both seriously hurt at this point, alive but seriously hurt. She takes them to her town, and in her town, Liza discovers that kids have magic and they use it openly. And not only is it's not a death sentence, the town is prospering and it's healthy, and the magic is part of the reason that the town is prospering. And she learns that magic is not as bad as her father says. It can kill, but it can also heal and do good. And she questions a lot of things about what she's been taught and what she knows about magic. In her vision, she finds her mother is still alive and in Faerie, so she goes off to find her mother. And that's basically the plot of that book. Now, here are the things that I did not like. The main character, Liza, she is very vanilla. She's hardworking, reliable, and all that good things, but there's nothing outstanding about her, nothing memorable about her. And aside from the fact that all these extraordinary things are happening to her, there's nothing really interesting about her. She's just the main character. That's it. And the only characters that are memorable in this book are characters that are in it the least, and that's that's Kaylin and Karen. Those two characters. I kind of wish they were featured more, but those two characters were the two most memorable characters in the book, in both books. And moving on to the plot. The plot, I love the concept. It's a thing that pulled me in. A dystopian novel with elements of fantasy. I had never seen something like that before, and I wanted to see if it was going to be a story that was going to be executed well. And I'm sad to say that though the story is compelling, the execution is not done very well. A lot of the elements in this story fall short. The characters, the development of the characters, not to mention the end of the book. I was really disappointed because I wanted to see her growth from everything that she's been through, from the time she left the town to when she found her mother and went back to the town. I wanted to see that growth and I didn't see it. She confronts her father and basically turns back into the same person at the beginning of the story, where she cowers, in his presence, basically. And I wanted to see that growth. I mean, for someone who went through all the things that she did, I didn't see it then. And it took basically him shoving people around and it took him almost killing someone for her to stand up to him. And I think that even if when she first came back and you do kind of have that psychological, you fall back into, your old habits because, this is your father and the person that you're supposed to be respecting and all that stuff. Even if it gives you pause for a minute, it shouldn't take like him slapping people around the room and basically dragging a child to kill the child before you respond, to say, well, to show some kind of backbone. And I didn't like that. The good things I liked about the story: it was compelling, it was a page turner, and from the third chapter things start to happen, and it and the pace gains steadily from there until maybe halfway into the book, where when new characters are introduced and town and whatnot, and it kind of gets, the pace slows down a bit and it stays at a relatively slow pace. But the twist, the concept, I love the concept of a dystopian with magical elements to it, because I had never seen anything like that before. I haven't read that many dystopian novels. I'm working on that because its genre is slowly ingratiating itself to me. I'm slowly becoming a fan of the genre. And that's really basically it. Those are the things that I found that I liked about this book. But having said all the good and the negative, at the end of the day, the book was well written. Even though it could have used some extra oomph, some juice, some kind of magic of its own to make the story a little better, it was still well written. It was very compelling. I did find myself trying not to skip ahead and read pages to find out what was going on, and that in itself made it a good book. But it wasn't a top notch by any means, but it was still a good book. And I gave it a 3.5 rating. Now, I would have given it a 4, but it was just, there were too many elements and I didn't like the ending and I just couldn't do it. You guys deserve an honest feedback on how I felt about the book and what I liked and disliked, and so that's why I'm giving it a 3.5 rating.